in Moraga, California. It's our honor today to present Woody Townsend. Woody is the assistant to the executive director at Bay Area Rescue Mission. Hello, Woody, and it's great to have you.
Thank you.
And we have with us today Stephanie Mann, executive director of Safe Kids Now. Stephanie Mann and Woody have something in common. They're changing people's lives.
It's so nice to see you, Woody. And, I'm a big fan of the rescue mission. I have friends that have been saved, literally saved, by the Richmond Rescue Mission. And I'm so interested in how did you get involved and how did you get started working there?
Well, that's a great question. I was a corporate guy for a long time. I worked in the software business, selling and managing sales forces. And I did that for a lot of years. It was pretty much fun. Had a pretty good career doing it. But like a lot of things, it was getting sort of a little bit stale. And God works in mysterious ways. About the time I was getting kind of tired of it, I got laid off one day.
Oh.
Which was exciting.
Yes, I bet.
It happened the day after Obama got elected in 2008, so I always remember that. But, anyway, in the meantime, I had known a little bit about the Bay Area Rescue Mission from affiliation to our church, as well as I'd done some volunteering up there, and I knew the executive director, John Anderson. And somebody told me one day that they were looking for somebody in the development department, and it seemed kind of interesting, and John and I kind of hit it off and had a conversation about it. And I think our first conversation was like, why would this really make any sense? But, in reality, I had some talents in the area of people skills and relationships. And
As a corporate guy.
As a corporate guy.
Yeah.
That, guess what, really kind of transferred pretty nicely to the nonprofit world. So, the product's a little different. We're in a faith-based homeless shelter, but I get to kind of promote that product and represent it to individuals and corporations and foundations. And,
you say a faith-based homeless shelter.
correct.
Okay, tell us a little bit about that shelter.
Yeah, we are located deep in the heart of Richmond, as you know, and we've been doing this since 1965, so we're kind of approaching our 50th anniversary. But every night we house and feed about 320 women and children.
That's a lot.
Yes, it is a lot.
Where do you get your finances to feed all of them?
Well, all of our funding comes from individuals, corporations, foundations, and churches. About 70% of our funding comes from individuals. We take no government money. Government money, it tends to have a lot of strings attached.
Yes, I've noticed that.
We don't take anything from the government with all due respect that we get. Like I said, most of our donors are individuals, but then we do have a lot of support from companies in the Richmond area, say Mechanics Bank, Chevron, Overall Construction Company, plus churches, including the church that you and I attend, and many others. And then foundations like, say, the Lowell Berry Foundation, the Lesher Foundation, names like that.
Well, tell us a little bit about, it's a shelter, so how many people do you house, and where are they coming from?
Yeah, well, every night we have roughly about 160 men and about 160 women and children.
That's a lot.
It is a lot, yeah. They come from all over the place.
Are they homeless?
Yeah, they're homeless.
They're all homeless.
Yeah, they're homeless, and I can get into some of the stories.
Well, we'd love to hear some.
Yeah, I got a lot of them.
Oh, good.
They come from pretty much all over the Bay Area. They also come from different states. People get there from different ways, different means, and different methods. It's pretty safe to say that when they land on our doorstep, it's kind of the last stop, the last rung on the ladder. There's no other place to go, or they've burned bridges, or there's no other place to turn.
So you have a lot of people who have been addicted to drugs.
Yeah, right. Yeah, there's a lot of substance abuse, drug, alcohol. There's a lot of people that have, come through very difficult personal situations.
Well, tell us how you get somebody that has been homeless and then they're the last rung of the ladder. How do they move from here to there to improve and so they're not homeless?
Yeah,
Can you do that?
Sure, yeah, it happens all the time. But, I mean, they arrive at our doors, but I see people there for a wide variety of reasons. You know, the ones you might think of, dumb decisions, stupid things people do,
Making bad choices.
Multiple bad choices. You know,
Do you hear much about child abuse?
Yeah, a lot of them have been abused. You know, either as children or women. There's a lot of women that are abused that show up here. But you know, bad decisions. You've heard the saying that we're all about 4 or 5 bad decisions away from being homeless.
Mm-hmm.
You make a bad investment. You start getting into some bad habits. You blow up your marriage. You alienate yourself from your family. You know, you make a few of those kind of strategically bad decisions. You might find it interesting that there's a person at our rescue mission right now that went to one of our local high schools and went to Cal, UC Berkeley.
Mm-hmm.
Recently there was a guy there from Orinda.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, the people that are there have made bad decisions, but there are also people that have been at the wrong place at the wrong time, that have been taken advantage of, that had horrendously bad family situations. They really never had a chance. Like, so there are people there that look a whole lot like me and you, I think, too. This is not just, there's kind of a stereotype of what the homeless people look like. Anyway, so they're there for all kinds of different reasons and all kinds of...
And what about children?
A whole lot of the women that are staying in our place have children. One of the interesting things we're finding out, which also was a surprise to me, is in the last decade or so that the number of homeless women and children has increased dramatically. They're way over half the homeless population is women and children. Younger women, I think our average resident right now is about 30-something, quite a bit younger than they used to be. And a lot of the women have children in tow.
So you put up, you have facilities for women separate from the men, and then the children stay with us.
Exactly. Yeah.
So how many children do you usually have?
Yeah, you know, out of those 160 women, I'd say there's probably 40 or 50 children there. That's just kind of a guess, but yeah.
Now, do they go to school?
Yeah, they go to school. I mean, some of the people work. Some of the people, all the kids go to school. We have programs for children also. We have an after-school program for kids. For not only kids that are staying in our shelter, but kids from the community. Every day there's 50 or 60 kids going through that program. And you know Richmond pretty darn well. You know what life looks like for a lot of the kids in Richmond. You know, terrible families, mom's not around, dad's not around, mom's in jail, dad's in jail. So this is a secure place where they can be safe, have a place to study, have somebody that gives them some love and attention, gives them a meal every night. This is for the children's programs we have. All the
Do
way
they
up.
have a limit on how long they can stay?
At the mission?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can. There's 2 types of persons that are staying there. We have overnight guests, which can simply have a place to stay, a bed, a shower, a meal, for up to 30 nights. Pretty much no questions asked. We also have about half the people that are staying there that are in a longer program of recovery, like a 12 to 14-month recovery program. So that's kind of the goal, is to get people to that program. But they have a choice. So they have a choice between, I just want a bed and a meal and a shower, to I want those things, but I also want to get my life back on track. And that's where we have, you know, the recovery from drug abuse, alcohol abuse, job placement.
So you have counselors.
Yeah, counselors, anger management, how to get reconciled back with your family, health care services that come in from the county. So it's during that program, which goes on, as I said, from 12 to 14 months, that people are able to kind of start climbing out of this homeless situation.
Can you give us an example of someone that has climbed out?
Yeah, you know, I could think of a lot of people. I'm thinking, and there's some of those people that have come through this thing are literally on our staff now at the mission. I'm thinking of Johnny, who's one of my buddies. He's in procurement now at the mission. He helps get things from different people around the community and support some of our banquets and events. He was living like under an underpass in Antioch for many years. War guy, Vietnam guy. He was living, as a homeless guy in some encampment under an underpass. He tells a story that, soaking wet blankets in the rain, going through a can of beans, just day after day. He came to the mission, turned his life around, got straight with God, got off whatever substances he was abusing, got reconciled back with his family, and he has these neat poems he tells. But he's got a bank account, a car, a PG&E deal. He's living a normal life. Yeah, he's evolved. He's really gone from being a kind of an outcast of society and somebody who was dependent on society to a contributing, positive, sustaining member of society.
Are there other rescue missions in Richmond, or are you the only one?
There may be some other smaller ones, but we feel that we're the largest one in the Bay Area. I think there are some other similar entities, but they're much smaller in Richmond. I wouldn't claim that we're the only people that are doing good things.
No, I know.
In Richmond. I'm thinking of Mimi and her daughter Brianna. They came to the mission, I think around 7 or 8 years ago. They were had kind of alienated themselves from Mimi's family, no other place to go. They were living out of their car day to day, no money. And Brianna at the time was maybe like 10 years old. They came to the mission, went through the program. Mimi got her life stable again. She now works at the mission in our donor relations department. She moved out of the mission a year or two ago to a little apartment over in the Marin County area somewhere. Brianna went to Marin High School and now is like a sophomore at college in Marin. She's working at Safeway, kind of going up the ladder to Safeway. Just a great recovery situation. They went from just a really difficult day-to-day struggle to, again, really positive about life. And,
what would you say is the difference between a government rescue mission type of thing versus the Richmond rescue mission? What would be the difference?
Well, I mean, I could probably beat around the bush on it, but I think the faith-based component probably is the difference.
I would say that's probably the most important component.
It really is, yeah. I mean, we're not ashamed of that. There's scripture verses on the walls, and we don't force it on anybody, but we have a pretty strong gospel message that we preach there.
Yeah,
Proud of that.
I think I told you one time about AJ, who was down and out, and went to the rescue mission, and he had been selling drugs, was a drug addict, and he was hungry, and he decided he wanted to get some food, so he went to the rescue mission in Richmond. And they said, okay, but you have to go listen to a sermon first.
Right.
So they're still doing that?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he went in and went.
To get that pre-dinner, you got to go through the sermon.
That's right.
Yeah.
And he said, oh, no. So he sat through it.
Yeah.
And he came back 3 times before he fell on his knees and said, I need help here.
Right.
I finally got it. And he is the most wonderful man I know. He adopted 30 kids on his block. He is so grateful. He put on a Christmas party for 300 kids at Cesar Chavez School. I mean, he's turned his heart around. So I know you probably have some stories.
We think everybody needs the gospel, of course.
Yeah.
But obviously, a lot of these people are frankly kind of open to it because they've tried everything.
Yeah.
And they're on the bottom run, and they're in a life and death kind of situation. So,
but you have to want to change.
You do have to want to change, and not everybody does. We do. We're pretty proud of the fact that the people that have gone through this program and graduate and have gotten back with their families in the church, hopefully having a job, off the substances, We have north of about an 80% success rate with those people that go through that program. Yeah, which
That's better than,
it's several multiples beyond what, say, prison, people that get out of prison.
Wow, yeah.
So,
that's
and I think the gospel piece of it really makes a difference.
well, I would agree with you, because when people are off-centered and
Mhm.
not spiritually centered, and
Right.
they haven't taken responsibility for where they are and what
Exactly.
their life is all
Yeah.
about, they become very angry, you
Right.
can't move ahead, and anything
Right,
gets you
exactly.
angry.
Yeah. And it's a tricky business. I mean, it's I call it kind of sloppy. 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Some people do fall off the wagon. It's challenging. You're dealing with people, and people have had some long-term issues, and you don't kind of get over that overnight. That's why we like the program being so long.
How long is it?
Well, it's 12 to 14 months minimum.
That's wonderful.
We believe that, if you just went to, say, a 30-day drying out program somewhere, that may sound, but that's probably not going to last
No.
very long.
Yeah.
We get scared with anybody that, even at our place, that says, I've been here 30 days, I think I've got all this figured out, I'm great now. It takes longer than that, because you're overcoming years and years of bad, destructive habits, and you don't just turn that around overnight. So,
Well, what's your most successful case that you've seen?
I can tell you that the guy I mentioned earlier, there's a guy who is sort of out of our neighborhood here, that was kind of on the local high school and UC Berkeley track, played
What
athletics.
kind of bad decisions did he make?
Yeah, I think it's sort of like asking somebody that, in prison you don't ask somebody,
Yeah.
how did you get to prison? Or down to our place.
Where'd you go wrong?
Yeah, what happened to you? Yeah, but I think this guy got into some pretty serious alcohol abuse.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he had a few physical issues that got him maybe hooked on some of the OxyContins of the world and medications. And in the process, kind of blew up his life and blew up some relationships and all those things, right? But this guy's come around. We had our annual banquet last Friday night up at the Concord Hilton with about 500 plus people there. And this guy was up in like a praise band playing the guitar and doing a great job. So this guy's really turned his life around. Yeah, his name's Mike. He's a real good guy. So we have a lot of those examples. That's very motivating. That's very kind of exhilarating to see people who have, as I tell my friends from the area or people that I grew up with, I said, think of any kind of wild and crazy thing we ever did. And I mean, these are some stories that would really curl your hair. It's amazing. But to see that they've come out of these, whether it's drug abuse or crime or being in prison, I mean, to come from that to a situation where they're back into society again, that's pretty darn
There's nothing more important
It's
than
great.
that.
Yeah. And everybody wins on that.
Everybody. Everybody.
We're no longer having to support that person from society. He's contributing to society. There's a big difference on that. So.
Yeah. What is your wish list for Richmond Rescue?
Well, we are lucky. We have people, individuals and companies, that support us, obviously financially. I mean, finances do kind of make the world go around. So I can easily say, I wish we could have a little more financial support. We do fairly well on that. We're fortunate in that area. I think people see us as a real, legitimately good cause to support.
Right.
And even when times are tough, they might cut their support off for, say, some other cultural thing that they might see that a homeless shelter is still pretty important. So we're fortunate in that area. People do volunteer at our place.
How many volunteers do you have?
Every month, believe it or not, we have about 500 different volunteers.
Oh, that's exciting.
And that's from helping us administratively, to tutoring kids, to working in our warehouse, to working in our kitchen. There are all kinds of different ways people help us out. So we're dependent on volunteering, and these could all be wish lists. Volunteering, volunteering financial matters, and then also people give us a lot of things, whether it's clothes or just items from the home, companies like Costco and Walgreens, Safeway, Trader Joe's, Walmart, they give us a lot of stuff.
I don't think the corporations get enough credit.
We love them. I mean, the ones I mentioned, they support us really nicely. Every day, our trucks go out and get things from, say, Trader Joe's and Costco that are approaching expiration date.
Right.
And we use a lot of that to feed our clients, as well as give away food to people in the neighborhood. From the food we get from people and the clothing and other household items we get from people, we first of all use the food and the clothing to help the people that are staying in our facility. But secondly, we give quite a bit of that away to people in the community that may not need a place to stay, that need clothes and need food. We give that stuff out every day. And then thirdly, if we have something left over in those areas, we'll give it away to other nonprofits. So we might call somebody up and say, hey, we have 200 loaves of bread over here, you want it? So we'll give it to other nonprofits.
That's great. I think it's so important for the community to share their resources.
I get to see a lot of generosity. We see a lot of people giving us their time and their talent, helping tutor kids, doing administrative things for us, working, serving meals. And people give us their treasure too, which we're really grateful for.
So what you're doing is awesome. So because you are doing so much to help other people.
We are grateful for the support we get. We are thankful to God that we're able to help people out that need help. People that are kind of, as I said, sort of the last step. They're really kind of desperate. I have to say that we're looking at expanding our program. Back to my point about the greater increase of the homeless population of women and children, we're looking to add on to our women and children's facility by building a brand new 17,000 square foot building adjacent to our existing facility, which will expand by about 150 beds our capacity for women and children, plus to have some more classrooms and offices, a brand new kitchen, as well as a play area that will be safely protected for kids. So that's a new project we're working on that we're just kind of launching. It's called the Bridge of Hope. It's a way to give hope to people that need it. And one of the sad things about what we do is last year we turned away somewhere around 3,500 women and children we didn't have room for. And, around a third of that of men we didn't have room for.
So what we should be talking about, too, is the possibility of other communities starting a rescue mission in their community and getting their churches together to help with the healing, because we have 1 in 3 women now in abusive relationships. And if we don't start healing each other and doing what you're doing by working to make our communities safer, giving them the resources that they need, but that can be done.
Sure.
You guys did it.
I think we're making a dent.
We know you're making a dent, but we need other people and other communities to do the same thing. And somebody has to take that initiative that, as you say, people want to support that.
They really do. We're lucky because we, whether it's feeding people or housing people or helping them get right with God, the spiritual component, educating them, job placement, sort of getting them healthy, getting off the abuses. I mean, there's so many things we do. Different things appeal to different people.
You had mentioned 3,500 people.
How
do we prevent this so this doesn't continue like this?
A lot of it starts, drug abuse, alcohol abuse. That's a problem. You start going into those areas and things start disintegrating pretty quickly. The sort of the dissolution of the family.
It all goes back to the family.
A lot of this comes from really dysfunctional, messed up families, and whether it's starting with the marriage breaking up or abuse in the marriage, those are
I think that's the key.
Yeah, it really is.
We need to strengthen families.
That's correct.
So if we can do that on a citywide basis, and that's what we're working on at Safe Kids now, working with adopter blocks to get people more connected in the neighborhood. Because you remember when you were a little boy, everybody in the neighborhood knew if you did something wrong.
Yeah, right.
Now you wait until they're in gangs and say, wow, what happened here?
Exactly, yeah.
So we gotta go back to some principles that worked.
Yeah, there's a lot of, most of the people that are at our place, like I said, have burned bridges in the family, or they got thrown out by their husband, or thrown out by their wife, or abused by their father. I mean, it all sort of starts there.
It does.
We try to show a lot of mercy and grace in that area. I mean, there are rules and regulations. When you're dealing with 300 people, you've got to run a pretty tight ship, obviously. But I think we do show people a pretty large amount of mercy and grace, because a lot of them haven't seen much of that. We had a little graduation thing the other day for a financial management class that some people I know put on. And it's teaching men and women some of the basic, checking accounts.
Things they never taught.
Yeah, things they never did. We sort of figured out something along the line. Insurance, loans, debt, taxes, stuff that we kind of figured out that they never did, and they've gotten all kind of messed up on it. This was like a 9 or 10 week class that these guys teach to kind of help people out and help them get their credit squared away, or get their taxes straightened out, or pay off liens and all that stuff. I'll never forget this woman. My buddies handed her the certificate, and she's like about 27 years old with maybe 4 kids, and she got up with tears in her eyes and said that this is the first thing I've ever completed and accomplished in my life.
Oh.
This little financial management class, isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
It was the first
feeling of accomplishment.
Yeah, it was the first time she'd ever felt that in her whole life.
Wow. That's nice.
So yeah, it's good, and I think you're right. Showing people some love and mercy when they've really had a very small amount of that goes a long way.
It's true.
But there, but for the grace of God, there go I. A friend of mine I had lunch with in Richmond the other day, and we were talking about the people there. I said some little comment like, we've really worked hard, or something like that. Some dumb thing. He's a good friend, so he could say this. He said, you've been afforded every possible break in life you could possibly manage.
You've been fortunate.
And I thought, let's see. I had a really great family who were strict, but I knew they loved me. Parents who had a pretty darn good marriage, who paid for just about everything. I've worked hard, but, I think I've had some pretty nice breaks along the way, too.
You've had some good leadership, some good role models.
Yeah.
And that's another thing. We need better role models in our community.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for all you're doing, and we really appreciate it, and we love to see all of the accomplishments of the Richmond Rescue Mission.
Come over and visit sometime.
I would love to.
I can talk all day long about it.